Three players the Browns can't lose to injury in 2021. They say third on the list, Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I would say Myles Garrett is number one on the list. Well, I guess Baker Mayfield, right? You have to say the quarterback number one. But Myles Garrett is the second most important guy on this team and maybe the most important guy. And so because of that, I would put him right there behind Baker Mayfield. I just think Myles Garrett, we saw what happened last year. When he was on the field, he was still, whatever it was, 50% Myles Garrett, 60% Myles Garrett. But you want Myles Garrett at 100%. It changes your defense. It makes everything else that you've built work. This whole defense is built around Myles Garrett. So if you want to say the quarterback's number one, yeah, of course, because Case Keenum is a step down from Baker Mayfield. But I think Myles Garrett has to be number two on the list.
Yeah, and I think you can make the case that he might even be number one. Number two, Odell Beckham Jr., which again is a little curious because they didn't have him for a large stretch of last year and were able to work around it.
Yeah, but then you also look at that Chiefs game, and you kind of wish you would have had Odell Beckham Jr. in that game because that was something you were lacking. Even with the emergence of Donovan Peoples-Jones as a downfield threat, and Jarvis Landry just doesn't miss games. The only game he's missed in his career was the COVID contact tracing game. He's there every single week. Not having Odell hurt you, not having that downfield threat, that guy that a defense has to look at and say, we need to do everything we can to make sure he doesn't get the football and do it in multiple ways. I do think that, they got through most of the season without Odell, but when push came to shove against the Chiefs, and, maybe if they had even beaten the Chiefs and gotten to the Bills, I think the Browns would have really felt the loss of Odell Beckham Jr. So I think it's fair to put him on this list, even with what happened last season.
And number one, the aforementioned Baker Mayfield. Now, I would make the case, though, I think you can win with Case Keenum. I don't think you really want to for an extended period of time, but I think he can make the plays that you need him to make.
Yeah, Case Keenum is who he is. He led the Vikings to the NFC Championship game. Is that the real Case Keenum? Probably not, because the Vikings didn't want to pay him, and they moved on from him. The Broncos did pay him, and they moved on from him. But that being said, you can put Case Keenum out there, and he's going to run your offense, and he's not going to make devastating mistakes. He's going to prepare. He's going to do the job he's supposed to do. It's not going to be spectacular. You're going to miss out on some things that you would have with Baker Mayfield, but at least you have a competent backup quarterback who knows the system, knows the head coach, can run the offense, and you can kind of, patch your way through that a little bit. So losing Baker would be devastating because you never want to lose your starting quarterback. But at least the Browns have a guy in Case Keenum who knows what he's doing, and they know what they have. They know exactly what they have.
And, the way I look at backup quarterbacks is this guy going to lose me the game? And I don't think Case Keenum is going to lose you the game. Conversely, I don't think he's going to win you the game necessarily, but I think he can get the ball in the hands of people that will win you the game, which I think is what you want in a backup quarterback when you're a contender.
Yeah, and you look at backup quarterbacks across the league, it can be a weird position sometimes. You see guys that just, how does this guy still have a job? How is this guy a backup quarterback for all these years? And it's just because they're reliable. They're going to get the starter ready. They're going to do their job in that regard. They're going to be like another coach for the team. But then when you need him, that guy's going to be able to step in and win a game or two, or however many games it is. And you have to ask yourself, you look at Buffalo, for example. They went out and they signed Mitchell Trubisky, who, of course, struggled so much in Chicago. Now, maybe him being a backup will help him, but would you rather have, kind of that young guy with upside, or would you rather have a guy of Case Keenum, who exactly what he is? You don't know if Mitch is the guy that led the Bears to the playoffs a few years ago, or, just the guy that hasn't been able to stick in Chicago. I kind of like the idea of having a veteran who knows exactly what his job is, and he can come in and run your offense and just do the things you need him to do.
Yeah, and a guy that the head coach, Kevin Stefanski, is very comfortable with as well.